Hi everybody, this is a special message in preparation for our upcoming annual meeting. I wanted to do a video message so you could watch this at home before you come to the annual meeting, and that'll save us a little bit of time. So I just want to ask you, can a church come alive and thrive when it can't even get into its own building? Well, the answer is yes, and you are living proof. St. James has had one of the most successful years in at least a decade in our ministry. And it's so exciting to be a part of that and to have done that when the building's been closed and we've had to work from home. We have proved that this church is not a building. St. James United Church is not a building. St. James United Church is a congregation of people. The building's a big help, but we can exist without it, and that's encouraging. COVID-19 has changed our lives, not just personally, but also the life of our church. It's accelerated, not just our church, but the Christian church in general around the world. It has accelerated a number of trends that were already active in the direction and trajectory of the Christian church, but it's made them happen faster. It's made them happen a lot faster, and it has created what's being called a great divide in the church today, the bigger view of the church, not our church. And that divide is not between conservative and liberal congregations, as the divide has been for the last little while, although that divide still exists. The current divide that we're looking at is between churches that are starting to thrive and churches that are dying. And the trajectory has been there for a while, where some churches were starting to increase and some were decreasing. Well, COVID has taken that and done this. So those that were dying are dying really fast now. Here's the hard statistic you don't want to hear. The United Church of Canada is closing one congregation per week right now. One congregation per week right now. Churches that are pivoting, to use the business lingo of the day, churches that are pivoting to embrace these trends that are happening are starting to thrive. Churches that are desperately trying to hang on to what they had before and go back to the way it was before the pandemic, they are dying faster than ever. And like I said, we're losing one a week like that. That's a sobering statistic. And St. James, where are we? We're standing right in the middle on that. We've had enough of a success this year to have a taste of the trend of thriving churches. But we also have an inertia, a pulling back to want to go back to where we were before, like a strong gravitational pull trying to pull us back to the way things were before the pandemic. And we're at a decision point, and annual meetings are traditional points of making decisions. We've had this taste of where the future could be for us. And like I said, it's resulted in the most successful year we've had in a long time. And now you get to decide, do we go forward or do we go back? Do we continue to thrive, or do we risk joining the statistics of one closure a week? I know that sounds a little stark to put it that clearly, but it's the truth of where COVID has brought the church to. We're at a decision point, go one way or the other, forwards or backwards. So what have we learned this year? What are the important things that we've learned this year that have gone right, that we want to make sure we keep doing? Make sure we keep doing. The first thing is that we need to pay attention to is mission first. Mission first. It needs to be our first priority in everything we do. We've seen evidence through our mask ministry that money follows mission. Our mask ministry did not start out as a fundraiser. It's important that we never lose track of that, because it's raised $20,000 for our ministry. and it was not intended to raise $1. It worked because Pat Simpson saw a real need that we could be helpful in addressing, and she just wanted to help. And Ruth Nicholson came along and said, I can help organize that. And then a whole pile of people said, I want to join in and help. That is the blueprint for how we need to do mission for everything going forward. And I forgot one piece in that puzzle. And the governing structure of the congregation did not interfere with them. They just said, you're doing a good thing, keep doing it. There are so many churches where that doesn't happen, where a good idea like that meets the board and the board kills it in committee. That didn't happen. We need to pay attention to that. We saw a good thing happen and we just said, do it, go, do it. We need to learn from that. And people in the community started handing over money to our mask team in gratitude for what they were doing. That's how mission begets money. It's not the other way around. When we do fundraisers, people look at us and go, oh, you're just raising money for yourselves. That's not inspiring. But when we do a mission project and it needs some funding, people are happy, motivated, inspired to back it up. People just gave us money for those masks, and we raised $20,000 that we never planned on raising. The other thing we need to focus on doing this year, as we continue to move forward in terms of mission, one of the things that people are looking for more than anything right now from churches, and people are looking for churches. That's an important thing for us to pay attention to. They're looking for some form of spiritual growth outside of worship. You see, these days, yoga is booming. People are crying out for spiritual practices in their lives. They want the church to help them be different. And if all we're doing is a worship service once a week where they come and watch a screen, or after COVID come and sit in a pew and go home, we're not equipping them with any new way of living. And we need to focus on that as part of our ongoing mission. Take the mask strategy and apply it to that. The number 2 thing that we need to pay attention to from our learnings from this year is that online ministry precedes in-person ministry. We need to connect with people online in a meaningful way before they will trust us enough to show up in person. Remember what I said in terms of people looking for churches. Millennials, that generation with young kids that every church wants to reach, because we know, if we don't reach young families, we won't exist in a generation. Young families always need to be our primary target in terms of who we're trying to reach in order for us to be able to do everything we need to do. And that millennial generation of young families, they are actually out there looking for spiritual nourishment, and they're checking out churches. And how do they do that? If you're of that generation, heck, if you're of my generation and down, and even some older than my generation, say you're hungry, you want to go out to a restaurant. What's the first thing you do when you're looking for a restaurant? You Google the kind of restaurant you're looking for. I'm hungry for pasta. Google Italian restaurant. And Google will give me a list of Italian restaurants in the area. And then I'll start going through the first few until I find one that looks like it feels good, looks like it's got what I want, I like the atmosphere, I'll give it a shot. People are doing the same thing for churches right now. If you Google local churches, and you have to do it on an incognito browser, because if you've already been doing stuff on with our church website, Google will remember that, so it'll rank us higher because it knows you're associated with us already. If you have no association with St. James at all, and you Google local churches in Waterdown, we come up as 27th on the list. There are 12.5 churches in Hamilton that rank higher than we do when we may be dealing with somebody that's a few blocks away from us. We need to pay attention to that. Our website is our new front door. People will check out our website first, and we've got 2 minutes to grab their attention on that website before they decide whether they're going to move on to the next website or not, before they will ever dream of showing up in the door. It doesn't matter what we're doing here in the church. If our website doesn't say, you're the right church for me, they'll move on. What are they looking for? When they come to our website, they're looking for, who are we as a congregation? They're looking for, what is our brand? What makes us different from the other churches around us? And why should they choose to come here instead of the other 3 churches that they just finished looking at? And what have you got for me? What are you doing that will help me grow as a spiritual person? Will I fit in? Or will I stand out like a sore thumb? How will I fit in? And how will you deal with my kids? Those are the questions we've got 2 minutes to answer on our website. The other thing, so online ministry is our new connection point. If we want to reach that generation and connect them with in-person spiritual nourishment, we have to go to them where they are at. They will not come to us. They will not come to us. We need to go to them. We are now missionaries. We need to go to them and invite them to come to us. They won't do it on their own. And the point at which we need to go to them is online, because that's where they live now, online. The third thing we need to pay attention to from this year was our unified worship. It worked. We live in a divided world, and I'll be honest, 20 years ago, I was the biggest fan and advocate of 2 tracks, separate traditional and contemporary worship. That model of ministry is dead. I never thought I'd say that publicly. We live in a deeply divided world where everything seems to boil down to an argument over who's right. I'm on this side and you're on that side. I'm right, you're wrong, you're right, I'm wrong. We've lost the ability to talk to each other, especially lost the ability to talk to people who disagree with us or see the world differently from us or who are differently from us. Our worship services need to role model coming together. Our worship services need to be a model to the community that says we are a people who believe in honoring differences. We don't all have to be the same. We can have diversity, we can have variety, and still be one people in Christ together. And we need to role model that in our worship, and we have for the last year almost, since last March, when we brought the 2 services together out of necessity. There hasn't been a single complaint, not a single complaint. Everybody loves worshiping together. We need to continue that. We're at a decision point. The decision is in your hands. Are you going to help this congregation continue to move forward in a thriving direction? Or are you going to make decisions that are going to drag us back to risk being one of the statistics of who's closing this week? I know where your heart is. Same place as mine. We've had a taste of who we can become. We've had a taste of who God wants us to become. And we're not going back. We're going forward. And all will be well. And all will be well. God bless, folks.